Hi folks, John Cordisco back again. Another great game from one of my favorite tournaments, not because it's played in the US, it's just because it is a great tournament. My understanding is 8 out of the top 10 players in the world are here. Incredible. Anyway, this is between Alexander Grischuk, one of my personal favorites. I like Sasha. Time trouble addict, and again he gets in time trouble again here. Doesn't give away the result, but and his black, someone that needs no introduction in the chess world. This is Anand. Anand, former world champion, 5-time champion. Anyway, let's get to it. Grischuk is white, Anand is black. Interesting opening though. Now you'll see at the end a small interview with Grischuk and Anand. He says, well, you move the bishop out to c4. It's called the bishop's opening. You move the bishop out to f4, which he did. He calls it the wrong bishop's opening. Anyway, d5, e3, c5, pawn takes, knight. Kind of a reverse. Queen's gambit declined in a weird way. Queen's gambit accepted in a weird way. b5, queen checks. Has to go knight, protect the bishop. a6. Now, us amateurs will probably retreat that bishop, but these guys know this by heart. Bishop takes, pawn takes. Makes that pawn there a little backward, but right now he's okay. And according to the computer, that's the last book move. Now, what this opening is, I really don't know. It's just called d4 unusual lines. Knight f3, get the other knight out. e6. E6 is the second choice in the computer. Knight to e4 is the first choice, which I like a hair better, but then it makes the c6 pawn not only backward and isolated, but just a target. e6 does block in the bishop, but in all fairness, I think queen takes c5 is the move I like the best here. Anyway, e6, blocking in the light squared bishop. That's why I don't like it. Castles, bishop d7, a3, queen finally takes. What to do? Still likes knight e5, the computer, but knight to a4. And this is an interesting position. I think white's really good shape. It's only about a half a pawn advantage, but with that isolated a pawn, of course the c6 pawn is not backward anymore. Now the white pawn is gone. Queen goes to a7. I mean, where could it have really gone anyway? Doesn't really want to go here. So blocks in the bishop. Can't go here. Can't go here. I can go here, but big deal. So a7 is a good spot. c4, going right after it right away. I kind of like rook c1, but c4 is the top choice of the computer as well. Bishop e7, now rook c1, rook c8. Okay, standard stuff. Small advantage for white. Looks like eventually white will want to go here and then bring knight here, but we'll see. You notice black hasn't castled yet, which is very odd. Very odd indeed. C takes. C takes. You want to take with the e pawn, another pawn island, tough to handle. Rook takes, bishop takes, queen to d4. Okay, they're playing pretty good. Black has the bishop pair. Tiny advantage for white at this point. She decides to trade queens. Now this one I don't understand. It's the computer's choice, but a close second is knight takes. I think almost all of us have played knight takes. One simple reason: you want to isolate the d pawn for white. Instead of taking with the pawn instead of the knight, bishop d7, knight b6, bishop d8, knight takes. Now I'm surprised here you didn't play king takes, just to get the king off the back row. You want to get your rook out. The easiest way is the castle, but with minor pieces and the queen's off the board, I think king takes might have been a better choice, even though computer does like knight takes by a hair's breadth. Knight takes. Maybe he just wanted to reroute the knight or get his bishop out. If king takes, rook to c1 is the computer's choice. And this is a pretty good advantage, over 1.25 for white. I frankly don't see it, but any of you can make a comment concerning this position, please do. After knight takes, rook to c1, a5, f6, excuse me, h6, a5, knight b5. He goes f6. And then I was a little surprised about for Vichy. I guess he wants more scope on the e5 square. In other words, pawn takes, takes, has those two connected passes running down the middle of the board. So just secure e5. Rook c6, hitting two pawns at once. King f7, rook takes, bishop b6. White's up a pawn. Get about a pawn and a half, pawn and 3/4 advantage for white. I just don't like that knight there. No, it has nowhere to go. Bishop g5, h3, just to stop the advance of the pawn against the knight on f3. Rook b8, bishop b4. Good spot for that bishop. Of course, it blocks off the file for black for his rook, but I don't like where that rook on a6 is doing. He has no moves. Well, he can go to a4, big deal. Which does nothing. Rook to b7. Grischuk decides to go rook to a8. Now, right around now, he starts getting in time trouble. Pretty much the standard rule is for time trouble is if you have less than 1 minute left on your clock for the number of moves you have left to make the time control, you're officially in time trouble. And Alexander's just a time trouble junkie. Computer likes h5. I kind of do too, get those pawns rolling. But Vichy decides to go knight there. Blocks off the rook to be sure. King f1, knight c6, bishop e5. And I think white's doing well. Pawn takes. Vichy does the off move here. Bishop. Now knight takes, pawn takes. Shows a pretty good advantage for white, but I like those passed pawns down the center. But the computer's smarter than I am. King e2, he finally gets the king up. e4, f3. Okay. Grischuk stopping the advance of the pawns. As we all know, a king's a very powerful piece in the endgame. Not so in the early and middle games. And this is where I think Vichy makes a mistake. The computer likes e3. E takes f3. He goes d3 check. And I think he's in trouble. King to d2, pawn. Rook checks. He didn't see it. And that's where Vichy resigned. That's a tough break. Tough break. Bishop c5 instead, the computer likes. For black. Likes the bishop here. Bishop takes. Pawn takes, check. That leads to some craziness. But after e takes, rook f8, he resigned. Give you an idea. King g6, rook takes. It's over. So poor Vichy, miscue at the end. See the small interview from Grischuk and Anand. And as I always say at the end of my videos, besides thank you all my subscribers and thanks for viewing all of you, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.
One of the greatest players of all time, Viswanathan Anand, but a tough start to the tournament so far, Vishy. When it goes wrong, it goes wrong. What's happening? Can you explain it?
Not really. It just happens sometimes, and you lose control, and it's kind of hard to find your feet after that.
Today's game, he played an unusual bishop f4 to start off. Didn't look like it would necessarily be anything special in the opening, and then all of a sudden, he got a good position. Do you know where it happened?
Well, I should not have repeated a blitz game from Norway. I mean, that's basically what we were playing, and that wasn't very bright.
So he had a novelty prepared, or?
Yeah, I mean, he just played it differently from there, and wasn't hard to predict.
Now, you said it's hard to keep control. 2 games lost. I mean, all of us have lost 2 games in a row. What do you do, and what do you need to do to get back in the competition?
Playing better would be a start.
Yeah, that's hard for us mortals to take advice from that. Nothing to strengthen your mindset in any way. Anything we can take from that?
Look, if there was some formula, I would tell you, but you just have to go there and play.
All right. Well, we appreciate the time you took to come down here. Wish you the best in the rest of the games.
Thanks.
All right, back to you. Yes, with blitz specialist Alex Grischuk, who for some reason just likes to get into that time pressure and make us all get scared for you. But today you managed to take care of yourself and win a nice game against Viswanathan Anand. Tell us a little bit about the game. Did you think you had an edge from the very beginning?
Yeah, it's a very important victory for me because, first of all, it's my first victory in classical chess against Vichy. Yeah, in whatever we played first time, I think about 15 years ago. So it's my first victory against him. Second, it's my first victory this year against a really top player. Okay, I had 1 victory against Karekin as well, but okay, so it's my second victory. And third, that I won with my beloved opening, with because it's e4, e5, bishop c4 is called bishop opening, right? But I think it should be called wrong bishop opening, and d4 and bishop f4 is the correct bishop opening. Yeah, because I played it already about 30 times in blitz and rapid games, but I think it's my first time I played it in classical game.
And he said that you repeated a game from Norway Blitz, and maybe he should have not repeated that line because you seemed ready to face it.
Yes, because in Norway I actually lost without fight to him. He was very well prepared. He just blitzed out his moves and crushed me. So now I prepared, and it seems like he didn't check this line any further. So he was afraid to really repeat the moves because I know, but I made another move. I played knight f3 on move 8, and the critical move is probably knight e4 with big complications, but he probably was afraid to go for this. I'm pretty sure he knew this, but probably he was afraid, but after what he did, it's quite unpleasant. The position for him is quite unpleasant, and then after I played this take d5, exchange on c8 and queen d4, I think the exchange is extremely unpleasant for black. And yeah, I think we both played it quite badly because I think at first he could be much more stubborn. He just gave up the pawn, but and after this it should be just winning for white. But then I started to play really bad, and then I was a bit lucky because he just started to play completely for my Zeitnot and missed
for the clock. You mean when you say Zeitnot? Tell me, do players do that to you often when you get into time pressure? Start trying to push you on that clock?
I mean, yes and no. But the problem is that this year, I think, for example, in Norway, okay, I won 1 game, but in all 8 other games, I never had even the slightest of advantages. I never had any advantage in all 8 games. So people usually don't play on time when they are much better. They usually start to play on time when they are in trouble. So, but the problem was that nobody was in trouble against me, so they didn't need to. But of course, when you are in trouble and you're opening in Zeitnot, okay, everyone plays for time. Yeah.
Now, Anand had a fantastic result in Norway. I mean, he came in second place. Great result. Now he's lost 2 in a row. Do you have any explanation for when a world-class player like that starts to trip and lose 2 games?
Okay, but first of all, he is also playing sort of world-class players here, so it's not like he lost to 2 amateurs. And second, he had 2 blacks in those 2 games, so it also was something. And yeah, and also it happens when when there is not such a big difference in class, of level. Then sometimes you win several games in a row, then you lose several games in a row. So it can happen.
There was one moment in the game when you could have played the move E4. Instead, you opted for A3. Did you look at that sacrifice? Right at that moment, we were thinking, okay, if he plays that move, I get to talk about Grischuk and the attack he's making, as you joked you wanted me to say about you, but you didn't play it.
Yes, but I could not figure out how I develop my attack if he goes E4, Bishop C5, I guess E5. Knight G8, but then I was not sure. I mean, I have to react very quickly because if he manages to finish development, he will be just better. And I was not sure, and also I liked A3, so I just went for safer option.
Okay, so I'll have to wait before I can get the Grischuk kingside attack. We hope you get a chance to do that, and good luck in the rest of your games.
Thank you.
Alexander Grischuk after a win against